Hey guys, we are wrapping up the Ultimate Filmation wave of figures today with a look at the second figure so far. That of course means we're taking a look at Boneface himself. We have got Skeletor up. So we've got him here in the oversized brown mailer box with the He-Man logo on the front. Inside we have got that beautiful red lava burst backer card with Skeletor himself and all his accessories in the bubble, and then the back of that card has got a shot of Skeletor raising up the Havoc staff and laughing maniacally. We've got some instructional artwork as well as a great cross-sell. So just fantastic vintage inspired packaging, the stuff that I truly live for when it comes to toys. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package, our Ultimate Filmation Skeletor from Super7, and this figure is absolutely doing it for me. Now I've said a number of times that I am very partial to Skeletor, especially in comparison to He-Man. Of the big two, Skeletor's always been my favorite, and I think Super7 has done a pretty spectacular job of bringing this guy back to life, so to speak, in Filmation form with a good array of accessories. So let's dig right in. We're going to take a look at articulation as usual. Starting at the head, you have got a ball peg, so you can swivel side to side. Pretty tight, but it doesn't really seem to impede anything. His hood will hit the shoulder, so he kind of stops at about that far. He can go backwards a little bit, forwards, and you have a little bobble there. Arms go out, rotate, bicep swivel, single jointed elbow. We've got hinges and wrist rotation. You've got a crunch. You've got waist twist. We've got legs that go out, forward, backward, thigh cut up there. You've got single jointed knees. You have a boot cut. And then we've got the better style rocker ankles and hinges down there at the feet. So he is, you know, for all intents and purposes, he is very, very standard as far as Motu Classics type figures goes. But he's pretty much everything you would expect to get out of this figure, and of course he doesn't have those hideous ankles anymore. Now as far as the overall sculpt on this figure, it's basically exactly what we've seen before, with a few minor changes. So we have, for the most part, a just standard blue body with some purple and black accents. And frankly, I think he looks pretty fantastic. I don't really have any gripes with him. We are, of course, going to discuss the shine on this figure because he does shine, and I'll compare him to the Mattel figure. But frankly, it's really not that bad. The harsher your light is, or the brighter your light is, the worse it's going to be, I suppose. But in normal, standard light, he looks fine. And this figure does not have any kind of facial sheen because he has a painted head. So you really don't have a lot in that department to worry about on this figure. I'd say this is one of my more favored examples of a Filmation figure from Super7 lately, because frankly, this looks like it jumped right out of the TV show, looks like it jumped right out of the cartoon, so I'm really, really happy with this one. I do, of course, love the fact that I've mentioned it before, that he does not have those awful boots and ankles anymore, so you've got a more clean sculpted down there. You've got a kind of richer, maybe a slightly more vibrant color when it comes to the armor, and of course I'll show you what that looks like compared to the old one. We have two standard gripping hands. That is a bit of a deviation from the other figure, so we'll talk about that too. But we've got his standard kind of Filmation look as far as the bone cross on his harness, and then you've got the loincloth with the kind of leather straps that run down. So in general, I mean, the figure is pretty basic. It's Skeletor, so he does what he's supposed to do, and frankly, this figure does it really well. We do have a pretty stellar head sculpt, and, you know, I say it a lot when it comes to Motu stuff. Filmation Motu is my preferred Motu. It's what I grew up with. It's what I knew for the majority of my childhood, so this is my Skeletor. I love the other versions of Skeletor, don't get me wrong, mini comics, you know, 2000X, all that stuff. I really like it. But this is the one that I always go back to, and I think this particular head sculpt has some nice updates on it. It definitely doesn't look like the same that we got previously. It looks slightly different, a little altered. It's not exactly the same, so you'll see why when we compare them, but they're pretty close. So you've got that nice, bright, vibrant yellow bone face there. We've got a actual black inside the cowl this time, inside the hood, so that's a departure, which is a huge plus for me because that was maybe my one real gripe with the original Skeletor. And then of course you've got the purple hood. So it's a pretty basic figure, all things considered. When you kind of take him in as a whole, he's a mostly naked blue guy with a skull for a face. But in this particular instance, basic works, and I'm really, really happy with how this particular figure turned out. So here is our comparison between our new Super7 and our old Mattel figure. And frankly, there are probably more differences than you might suspect at first glance. So we've got, for one, we've got the shiny plastic thing. It's a problem, so to speak. Again, I don't really think it's a problem with this figure, but you can see there's a difference in finish and sheen. So while it's maybe not a problem, it's definitely a difference in some ways. We do have different boots, so we've got the ugly joints on the ankles for Skeletor, which I am so happy we don't have those now. We do have different hands. So Skeletor, for his left hand on the old figure, it's a wider grip, and his right hand is kind of crooked because it's sculpted in such a way that he can hold the Diamond Ray of Disappearance that came with the old Lizard Man figure. And while this particular new Skeletor does come with the same accessory, it's not the same accessory, and we'll talk about that as well. So he has just two standard gripping hands. As far as the overall look, though, they do have different color schemes going on with their skin tone. They're not exactly the same. The older one looks maybe more powder blue, I guess. The newer one looks a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more saturated, and then he has a bit of a more vibrant purple color for the armor, whereas the older one is slightly more muted. They're both still purple, but they're just kind of different. And then, of course, we have different head sculpts going on here as well. At first glance, they don't really seem different, but as you look at them, they definitely are. You, of course, have got the black on the inset of the hood for the new figure, which I think is a marked improvement. And frankly, I do like the new head sculpt. I think it's a little better. I do like the fact that it doesn't have the black that runs across the underside of the cheekbones. You can kind of see that here. So in general, it's a pretty similar figure, but they are more different than you might suspect. They kind of clash with each other a bit when you get them right next to each other. I thought they were very similar until I actually had them both in hand. And frankly, I've probably missed one or two things, but those are the big things that I can see. So while they very much kind of fulfill the same hole in your collection, they are very distinct when you get them side by side. All right, now as far as accessories goes, we do have the same kind of extra thing that we had with He-Man to begin with. So we've got the little backer card here, which has Skeletor on the bone throne, and then you've got a bit of a bio right up from Skrullos on the backside. So I really dig these. I like the idea behind the little backer cards, the piece of artwork, the bio, all that kind of stuff. But of course, he does come with some actual accessories, the first of which is arguably maybe the best one, depending on what you're in it for with this figure. So this is probably how I'm going to display my Skeletor, and that is with the kind of maniacal laughing face. I will say with a caveat here that I have had an incredibly difficult time actually getting the heads to swap. I've actually needed to heat them up, which I didn't have to do with Filmation He-Man. And even this one, after being put on, he doesn't really want to move too much. It basically just sort of sits there. That peg seems really, really tight for some reason. Beyond that, though, I mean, obviously I do have it in there, so it is capable, or it is possible. You might have better luck or worse luck than me, who knows. I would just err on the side of caution if yours seems tight. Otherwise, though, I think the sculpt is really nice. You know, get him kind of rearing back a little bit, and he very much evokes that maniacal, crazed Skeletor look that we all know and love. So I'm very, very happy with that. But we do have some other accessories, all of which we have seen before in the line, but they're not carbon copies of each other, which honestly, I'm kind of surprised about. I thought these were all going to be just simple reuses, but they aren't. So to start with, we've got his Havoc staff. So we've got the ram's head there. We've got the very, very pink staff this time around. Compared to the original one, the skull head is a different shade of kind of greenish gray, and then the staff is actually more purple on the original one. So you've got something like that. Then we have got the Filmation style sword that we had. This guy came with Lizard Man in the Motu Classics line, and this is his sword. So not only are they different colors, they are different sculpts entirely. There is very little similarities between them outside of just the general idea. Then we have got Skeletor's axe here, which we've seen before with Plundor. And you can see these are very, very similar, but the closer you look, the more you realize that they're not the same. The blades, the thickness on them are different, and then the actual little notches on the handle are not the same number. So these are entirely different sculpts, not to mention the fact that they're different colors. And then we've got a transparent ball at the end of this one. But the other one that we've got, and this is the one that I mentioned in reference to the difference with hands that Skeletor has from the previous one, is we've got the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. So we've got this little guy here, and it's really, really small, but I like the sculpt on it, frankly. Nice gray box, blue paint on the inside with a kind of off-whitish blue hinge or blue tinge to the jewel inside. This is the one that we got originally, and I believe this one came with Lizard Man as well. And this would had notches in it that was sculpted so a character can hold it. He cannot hold this. He can't even hold this either. Not well anyway. And you can see the design is the idea is similar, but they're not the same at all. So I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with this because he can't hold on to it. You can maybe kind of get it in there, but it doesn't really want to sit too well. And I've just not had a great deal of luck with it without fidgeting way too much. So while they all are accessories that we are very much familiar with, they are very, very different. So that's kind of a surprise. Otherwise, though, I think he has a great spread. It just kind of goes to show that we are getting new stuff from Super7. It's not just remolded stuff that they've kind of gotten a hold of. It looks like, at least with this particular figure, everything had to be created new. So overall, this is an absolute winner for me. There's really no doubt about it. I think Super7 did a really good job of reintroducing this figure into the line. I think he is a great example of what Filmation figures can look like. And frankly, they gave him a lot of stuff that a lot of people are really going to enjoy. I have most of these other accessories, well, all of them except for the extra head sculpt, but I like the idea that they all came in one package for people who missed this guy. And I really love that kind of cackling, laughing head sculpt. That's definitely going to be the one that I use. It's going to be the way that I differentiate my new Skeletor from my old. And all in all, it's just a great package from the actual packaging to the figure to the accessories. There's really not a lot more than I can ask for with this one. And I'd say that this is the definitive Filmation Skeletor at this point. Just because of all the stuff you get, it is a complete package. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super7 Masters of the Universe Ultimate Filmation Skeletor. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.